One in five suffer.
Erase the stigma.
Brain difference is not a crime.
Mental health isn't just your problem.
It's our problem.
And now, Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave.
Welcome to Mental Health Mondays
with Marla and Dave.
That's right.
I am Marla.
And I am Dave, and we want to remind you guys to text the word GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 818-698-1021 and support our A Dollar Today Keeps the Stigma Away campaign. Also, we want to remind you, if you're having any issues and you're not feeling well and you need some just mental wellness intervention, 988 is the new nationwide toll-free number. Get the help that you need. Speak to somebody, and you are not alone. Today we are honored to have Dr. Chris Aiken on the show. As a psychiatrist, he's also an author. His writing focuses on natural therapies for mood disorders. His latest book is the Depression and Bipolar Workbook. He hosts a podcast, The Pocket Psychiatrist, and his website is psycheducation.org. He is the editor-in-chief of the Carlot Psychiatry Report and the Mood Disorders Section Chief for Psychiatric Times. He teaches at both NYU and Wake Forest universities in their schools of medicine and is active in research on mood disorders. He is deep, and we are super honored to have him. Today's discussion will focus on diet, the foods we eat, and their effect on mood disorders. Again, we are super honored to have Dr. Chris Aiken. Don't move. It will be exciting.
We'll be right back.
When Dave and Marla get together.
Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave and NAMI San Fernando Valley believe it doesn't take much to make life a little better for our neighbors, coworkers, friends, our family members, even our children who suffer with mental illness. When you support our A Dollar Today Keeps the Stigma Away campaign, you are doing your part to erase the stigma surrounding mental illness. For just $1 today, or $1 a day for 1 week, just $7, we can look forward to a future that does not include the unfortunate and uncomfortable stares, bullying, and the subsequent isolation that our loved ones who suffer with brain differences deal with. Text the word GIVE, that's G-I-V-E, to 818-698-1021 to donate. A Dollar Today Keeps the Stigma Away. Brought to you by Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave and NAMI San Fernando Valley.
When Dave and Marla get together.
Once again, as Dave said, if we promised if you didn't move, we'd be right back with Dr. Aiken. Welcome to Mental Health Mondays.
Thank you, Marla.
You know, this is going to sound really cliche because we've all heard it growing up, but you are what you eat. So when I say that, I'm really intrigued as to where you are and how you've discovered this, or what advice you can give us, or even information when it comes to the correlation between what you consume and a mood disorder. Because, of course, the first thing that we all think, or a lot of us think when it comes to managing mood disorders or any mental health brain difference is that it would be that you would medicate with a pharmaceutical. So welcome.
Well, that's exactly what we've been doing. We've just been medicating with the wrong pharmaceuticals. So you look on any processed packaged food and you see a lot of chemicals there with names that look a bit like the names of drugs in the pharmacy. Only these chemicals, which have come about a lot in the last 50 years, have not been tested for any kind of health benefits. And many of them, we're finding more in recent days, these processed chemicals have a lot of health risks, shortened lifespan, obesity, hormone disruption. I can't think of how many people I've seen with mood disorders who tell me they know that it's something in their hormones, that there's something wrong with their hormones. And these aren't female hormones or male hormones we're talking about, but the hormones that regulate our digestion, our metabolism, all of these are going up and down between the mind-gut connection, between the gut and the brain. And that's how the brain communicates with the body, is through hormones. They're called neurohormones. So that is the mind-body connection. and these processed chemicals are disrupting that. So just to hit the nail on the head, which you did right there, Marla, a lot of the foods we have that we are eating are affecting our brain in negative ways. That's part of this new diet for depression.
So, Dr. Aiken, again, we're super honored to have you. And we've known for a long time that gut health is really important. And we're learning more and more every day about how that affects our mental stability and our mental acuity. But are you saying that through specific diet, you can actually eliminate the need for any of antipsychotics and all these other things, the medicines that are prescribed for mood disorders?
Not at all, no. But I will say something similar, which is that you can get a very big effect in depression through diet. And that is what is news to our field. You know, the brain has a very tight, what they call the blood-brain barrier. So nothing gets in the brain. Why? Because the brain is the most important organ in the body. It's protected. So for years, psychiatrists thought that food didn't really affect the brain because we knew that not much was getting up there. But like I just alluded to, it's affecting hormones that get up there, like cortisol, insulin. It's affecting the gut health, which communicates through the vagal nerve, and it affects inflammation.
Would dopamine be on that list as well?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Inflammation, which we're finding half of treatment-resistant depressions, the depressions that don't respond to meds, have high inflammation. And inflammation wears down the dopamine in the brain. So you're right on there. So you could call this an anti-inflammatory diet.
Wow.
It's called the Mediterranean diet. It's not a special, strange diet. It's just everyday healthy diet. And the remarkable thing is it worked about as well as medications in treating depression in 4 new clinical trials.
So we're talking about treatment, but I want to talk about have there been any links to the actual initiation or the cause of mood disorders? So for a person, who's diagnosed, is the food or have we been able to clinically come up with a link, a passageway between what they're eating and the diagnosis?
In other words, has their poor nutrition was that the cause of possibly for their mood disorder?
Yes, that came first. So first we learned that food was affecting brain health, just like it's affecting health of every other organ in the body. Yeah. And they narrowed it down through very large epidemiologic studies that about 1 in 3 cases of depression, food has a strong contributory influence there.
Wow. So, before we go to our first break, I really want to one of the things that really struck me was you said, first of all, the Mediterranean diet. I'll get you to explain that in just a second. But you said no foods are excluded and no calorie counting. Basically, it sounds like you're saying eat whatever you want in this Mediterranean diet and eat as much of it as you want.
Basically, that's true. That part of the remarkable thing about these 4 studies I mentioned is just the fact that people with depression were able to change their diet because it's so hard to change. And so, they created a fairly simple diet, a diet that's fairly simple to follow. It's not expensive. It's not hard to do. I put myself on it in order to teach my patients. I thought I should do it myself. And now I can't get off of it because if I eat foods that are discouraged on the diet, like my favorite Chick-fil-A sandwich, I just feel terrible. I feel tired and slow and unmotivated, just like depression. So it was affecting me too.
Wow. So what types of foods would be part of the Mediterranean diet?
Yeah, we have to get into breaking that down.
Oh, yes. Let's go straight into the food. So what we're doing in this diet, there's 3 categories of foods. There's the ones that you want to eat more of. They're so full of good brain nutrients, what we call phytochemicals. That's plant chemicals like flavanols that help protect brain cells and have direct positive effects on the brain. So those are the foods you eat more of. Then there's foods that you eat a little bit of. They do some good, they do some hard, but just like a medication in the right dosage, they do good.
Okay.
And then there's foods that you eat less of. Yeah, you could just avoid them entirely, but life is hard that way. So you can eat some of those foods. Yeah. And that's the junk foods, basically. So let's start with the ones that you eat more of. You want to do that first?
Absolutely.
But we want you to take us down this Mediterranean path, however you choose.
All right. And for our listeners, if you can't follow all of this and write it all down, it's all online. Just go to moodtreatmentcenter.com/antidepressant diet. Has it all laid out.
Mood treatment.
So,
let's say that one more time. Mood treatment.
moodtreatmentcenter.com/antidepressant diet.
And we'll actually get our producer, Tony, to put that up on the screen as you're talking. So go ahead and tell us about this first group of foods that we can just enjoy as much as we want to.
Yes, find foods you like on here and start with those. They are fruits, particularly berries, blueberries in particular. We have about 6 studies showing just adding 3/4 a cup of blueberries to your diet every day treats depression and improves memory.
Wow.
Guess what, Dr. Aiken? We have a chat room. I just want you to hold right there. And already Angie in the chat room, she literally says earlier while you were talking, blueberries are a very good friend to reduce inflammation. That's already written in the chat room by someone listening. Go ahead.
It's amazing, the blueberry. And the next is vegetables, and particularly a wide variety of colors, because each of those colors represents different phytochemicals that are doing different things, positive things in the brain and the body. Dark green leafy vegetables are particularly helpful for the brain. They have a lot of folate in them. Some of y'all may be taking methylfolate, which is FDA approved for depression. Basically folate. So we're talking broccoli, arugula, cabbage, spinach.
How about kale?
Kale, definitely the bitter kale.
Spinach, yeah. Absolutely.
So vegetables, the only vegetable that isn't so brain healthy is the regular potato. A purple potato or a sweet potato, you got the color in there, has a lot of good brain nutrients, but you may not want to eat a lot of potatoes, but they're still okay. Next, you got nuts. Nuts are incredible brain food. New study out of China showed just eating, there's about half a cup of almonds a day, just adding that to your diet compared to a placebo change made a big impact on depression in people with diabetes 1 or 2 months later.
Wow.
So you can make some changes. Just take one little ingredient and make a change, and you can see a change in your mental health a month later. So nuts, there's no special nut. One unique thing about this diet is variety is really key. All the foods in nature have something good for us that we evolved with and that we need. So don't go looking for the perfect food and overdose on it. Just try to spread it out. Enjoy the variety. There's no one best food. Each has a little what we need.
All right, we're going to get some more information from Dr. Aiken. Don't move. We'll be right back with more.
It's time for the Mental Health Minute with Marla and Dave.
So far this year, 2022, in the United States, 11.1% of adults with a diagnosed mental illness remain uninsured.
Wow.
That's over 5.5 million adults. In the most powerful and affluent country in the world, this should be an outrage.
Whether or not you choose to hold the COVID-19 pandemic responsible for the increase of U.S. adults diagnosed with mental illness, or the current state of our politics and or our economy, there was a 0.5% increase in adults diagnosed with mental illness without insurance from last year's data. This is the first time this indicator has increased since the passage of the Affordable Care Act, or since President Obama was in office.
The state with the highest percentage of adults diagnosed with a mental illness who are uninsured is actually Texas. And we're calling the states out because we want to get everybody the correct information. But are we saying that this is a partisan issue or not, or does it even matter?
The amount of daily stress adults in the United States feel has increased. Maybe it's time for us to stop focusing on what divides us and instead focus on challenges that we are all forced to deal with together, like our overall mental wellness.
This message is brought to you by Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave.
I never do anything without thinking about it first.
Marla is a feeler.
I basically live my personality on my scene.
But when Marla and Dave get together, It's like a match dancing with a firecracker.
Well, as we promised, we're back with Dr. Aiken. Dr. Aiken, our chat room is very active. Silver Star says, what about an acai bowl?
Well, yeah, let's just bring everybody back up to speed. Dr. Aiken has showed us in this first category of foods that we can eat plenty of. We have berries, specifically blueberries. We have vegetables, specifically vegetables rich in color.
Green leafy.
Absolutely. And we were getting to nuts. He was specifically speaking about almonds, but no particular nut, I would guess. Dr. Aiken, are there any more foods on that list in that first category?
Yeah, so nuts, try to minimize the salt, but all nuts are good, even the peanut. And then we go to beans, which we include hummus in the bean category.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go to fish. So most of us are catching on that fish are very good for the brain. They have omega-3s, which coat brain cells. Amazing study. You know, people, all kinds of people, anyone really that they've studied, if they don't eat enough omega-3s, they're rather irritable and depressive and inflexible. And then we look at their brain cells, and their brain cells are also rigid. They're like,
wow.
Like this.
They lose that plasticity.
Yeah, exactly. Plasticity. That's what omega-3s are about. And the brain is derived from the same part of the embryo that makes the skin. So I'm saying treat your brain like good leather. You got a good leather seat, you're going to oil it now and then so it doesn't get all brittle and cracky. It's exactly, this is not an analogy. It's the same thing with fish oil, omega-3s.
Those healthy fats that we used to say were bad for us, and we're now catching on that are pretty good for us.
Yes. Exactly.
Wow.
So that's the fish oil story. All fish are good, but salmon and the oily fish like sardines, anchovies, mussels, if you can take them, those are even better. Now, the next category, one more simple one, is extra virgin olive oil.
Are we still in the first category? This is still from the first, the plenty.
Eat all you want.
Okay,
this is all good for you.
We're in the good and plenty. We're in the green zone.
Good stuff. Yep. And the extra in extra virgin means extra antioxidants. It's the same concept as to why fruits are much better for you than fruit juice. Because fruit juice, they've stripped away the fiber and all of the antioxidants and the good stuff, and you're just getting the sugar.
Wow.
So likewise with oils, olive oil is one of the healthiest, and extra virgin has the extra stuff in it that's going to have brain protective ingredients. You can fry up to 425 degrees in extra virgin olive oil. Even more than olive oil, because those extra antioxidants are keeping the oil from destabilizing under heat.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard that. That's awesome.
I was surprised to learn that. So I cook popcorn in extra virgin olive oil now.
Wow. And I love popcorn.
Well, there you go, Dave.
You'll like this one then, because our next one is whole grains. Now, this was a surprise to me. I got to admit, I knew nothing about food before I started studying this stuff. And I thought, well, they must be putting whole grains in there because it's like the lesser of evils.
Yeah,
bread can't be good for you.
Right, right.
But if you get 100% whole grain bread, that is generally good for you. It's the same fruit juice analogy. The whole grain has all the whole fibrous, all the extra protein and extra stuff that is stripped away if you get refined flour.
Wow.
Now, this category, it's a little tricky to buy because a lot of products are mislabeled. They say made with whole grains or contains whole grains or whole wheat, or they say just wheat bread.
Yeah.
It's got to have the word whole. And you want it to say 100% whole grain on there, like Dave's bread has a bunch of these.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. So I guess Marla was saying, someone in the chat room was saying, what about acai?
Can you all help me out there? Is that kind of ice creamy thing people have for breakfast?
It's got an acai bowl. They have these bowls. They put I think it's got yogurt and it's got maybe granola, fruit. I don't know. Yeah. It's
I think that's great. I don't know how every company makes them. Mm-hmm. My only concern would be if there's a lot of sugar in there.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you're going to see yogurt is big on this list, and yogurt is one of those foods that it comes in. You can get really good quality yogurt that doesn't have additives, or you can get yogurt that's basically like a candy bar.
Right.
So we don't know what we're getting all the time. And that's what was the trickiest thing for me to adopt this diet, is really maneuvering through the packaged goods and finding packaged goods, because we're all going to eat packaged goods sometimes,
Absolutely.
that are relatively healthy. And that 100% whole grain, or if you look on the ingredients, if the first ingredient is whole something. So every grain comes as a whole grain form. And here's my favorite is popcorn. So popcorn is a whole grain. And if you make it yourself in that extra virgin olive oil, just Google homemade popcorn. It's delicious, and it doesn't have all the preservatives in it and artificial flavors that microwave popcorn
There you go.
has.
Look, Dr.
There
Aiken
you go.
literally
You just made my day.
He's your popcorn guru.
So now,
So diet can be fun.
so now, one of the things that I would ask you to get more specific about, especially when it comes to the whole grain breads, and we know we want to stay away from as much
Is it lectin?
processed foods as possible, but there's a whole thing these days about gluten. Where does that come into?
And lectins, they're supposed to be not good for your gut health. They puncture the right.
Yeah. So you're referring to leaky gut,
Yes.
which you're right, is we have all these bacteria in there. And if we got what I call the bad bacteria, they eat little holes in the gut and stuff leaks through, which then becomes inflamed. Just like if you get dirt in your wound, you don't want junk in there. It gets inflamed. So that leaky gut is a real thing. I didn't think it was a real thing until I started studying all this. And it's a cause of depression and inflammation. So there's about 20 studies showing that if you take a probiotic, that helps depression and anxiety, just getting more of the good bacteria in there. But what this antidepressant diet is doing is it's giving your gut, it's giving the microbiome in your gut something to eat besides your gut lining. So it's not enough to just put good bacteria in there. You also want to have the fibrous kind of foods, like the ones I've mentioned, nuts and fruits and vegetables, that the healthy bacteria will grow on.
So we did the green zone. Have we talked about the let's call it the yellow zone, which is the step down, and then
Well, that's where he was talking about the whole grain.
The whole grain.
That's where we were.
like a stoplight. Yeah.
I think I covered everything on the eat more of it category. Yeah,
Okay.
I think I did.
And how about the red zone? The things that we just really want to stay.
Well, let's go to the yellow zone.
Okay.
Okay. Watch out, with caution. No, I love the yellow zone because you Google any of these foods like eggs, and half the sites are going to say they're bad for you, and half the sites are going to say they're good for you. Well, what do?
Eat half of it.
You read the website
Eat
with
half
one
the
eye.
amount.
Yeah. So, life is full of things that do some good, do some harm. Like love, every heartbreak love song is like, if I never loved, I never would have felt good, but I never would have
Right.
had heartbreak and all that stuff. So here's the things that you want to eat in moderation, but you don't want to avoid entirely. We have some evidence that if you cut these out of your diet entirely, the rates of depression go up. And they are eggs, dairy, lean red meats, and chicken and poultry.
Okay. Wow. So
we got milk and cheese and all that.
And so is the part that we don't want to eat too much of because of the cholesterol issues and some of those things. But other than that, if we maintain without going, crazy on these foods, they still have benefits for us from a health perspective.
Yes. This has shifted my psychology to where I'm looking at that really good piece of red meat and I'm thinking, dang, I better eat some of this week. I need my red meat this week, So it's actually a good thing because it's got minerals in there, iron, magnesium. Eggs have something called choline in them that are found to help depression and prevent schizophrenia. So all of these animal products, I guess this whole middle category, they're all really animal products because the dairy is an animal product. They all have things that do very good for us.
All right. Well, there you have it. Dr. Aiken is really just giving us a new frame of reference for the foods that we eat. And we'll be back with more of our discussion with Dr. Aiken after this break. All right, that music lets us know and we see Marla starting to do her jig. It's pole time, and Marla is doing her pole dance. Marla, what was our poll question last week? Remember last week we had our good buddy, Doug Green in studio. He was really nailing it. We'll see today if he actually nailed that last question. Marla, what was the question last week, the poll question?
The poll question last week was, what percentage of U.S. adults suffer from anxiety disorders? Is it, Dr. Aiken, 19%, 27%, or 34%? That ask you again? Yeah, I'm asking you.
We're asking you now, Dr.
Okay,
Aiken.
I'll say I'm 27%.
Okay. That.
So again, the question was, what percentage of U.S. adults suffer from anxiety disorder? The percentages were 19, 27, and 34. I think, the answer is 19% according to this study. And I'm not sure.
Doug got
that last week. All right, well, Dr. Aiken, it's not too late. We'll give you another chance on the next poll question. The question this week is, what U.S. state has the highest percentage of adults with a diagnosed mental illness per capita? You have New York, you have
19.
Michigan, and you have Utah. Marla started to say what the percentages were. We'll give those percentages out next week. But your options are New York, Michigan, or Utah. The question, what U.S. state has the highest percentage of adults with a diagnosed mental illness per capita?
Michigan.
Okay. Well, you know what? This is what life is about. We're not about instant gratification around here, sir. You'll have to hear this next week, the answer.
You got to tune in next week for the real answer. And you guys, don't forget to text the word GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 818-698-1021. $1 today keeps the stigma away. Back to our conversation with Dr. Aiken.
And also, I want to throw in right quick that I'm reminding everybody again about the calling 988 is the new emergency number for mental health.
For mental health. Now,
So
Dr.
Dr.
Aiken, remind us before we get back to the discussion, what was the website that we can find this diet on?
I put it in the chat.
Moodtreatmentcenter.com. That's the homepage, and then you just do / antidepressant diet.
There
you go. And I think it's on the screen right now. So, Doc, I think we were going through the yellow list, which basically means not as much as we want, just a little bit more moderation, and that's more of the animal products, that the lean meats,
the chicken,
the fish, the poultry,
red meat,
and the eggs, and the dairy. So, is there anything else on that list?
Well, I'll just mention it's not that restrictive. So you get like 1 egg a day. You get about 1 small serving of meat a day and 1 serving of dairy a day. So it's not like very restrictive at all.
Okay. So what is the red list?
Which I'm going to just call that the hell no list. What's on that?
Hell no, that's right. So I like Ralph Nader's book, Unsafe at Any Speed.
Okay.
Launched the whole consumer protection movement. So I think of these foods as unsafe at any speed.
I love it.
And these are going to be, all right, your fried foods, fast foods, sugary sweet foods, your white breads, your processed packaged foods. And even, I hate to say this, but even those wonderful condiments that we see with all the fancy sauces and, on the shelf. Not all condiments are bad. Mustard is actually pretty good. And if you can get condiments with less salt, sugar, and less preservatives in them, go for it.
There you go. So, wow. And a lot of people have now actually started making some of their condiments themselves at home versus buying the highly processed condiments and sauces to flavor their foods with.
Dr. Aiken, I was a professional trainer for many years. And at one point, I think the most shocking thing that I would tell my clients, I found out that at Taco Bell, people want to make the change, and they think, oh, I'm going to have a taco salad. And it was literally like 26, way beyond the daily average, 2,600 calories just for if you eat the entire taco salad at Taco Bell. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, these are things that we don't really even realize, as well as, a lot of the times you can add 600 to 800 calories for sauces. And so, salad dressings, like David was saying, a lot of our friends, as we've, gotten up in age, because he's super old.
I own it.
A lot of our friends they make their own organic salad dressings, which is what he was saying. People make their own, and then their ingredients are tried and true and sure, and in most cases better for us.
Oh, that's great. And If you want to go all the way with this, download the Open Food Facts app. This is a scientifically developed app that you can scan any barcode, and I've found almost everything works. It'll tell you relatively how healthy that packaged food is.
Open
So I
Food
have to go
Facts?
and-
You said Open Food Facts?
Open Food Facts. I went through my pantry, and you're surprised. Some things you think are healthy are really not on the Open Food Facts. It's quite
That's
fun.
true. That's true.
But
And you know what?
speaking of the pantry, you can get 100% whole wheat pasta.
True.
So there are a lot of things you can get that are on the healthier side. So I'll just keep it simple. When you're shopping for packaged foods, go for stuff that is lower salt, lower added sugars, and has fewer chemicals on it that you can't pronounce.
Well, Doc, we can't thank you enough
That's
for
a good one.
we can't thank you enough for spending time with us this evening. What give us a parting message? What is that final message that you want us to take away from our discussion today?
Wow. I just want you to know my own story. I can tell you the story of all my patients who've done this, and I've seen big effects in people who've had treatment-resistant depression and bipolar depression. No medicine changed their mood, and then they went on this diet, and their mood got better.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
amazing. It takes about 2 months, and like I said, I went on it myself, and I am not one who likes diets. I love to indulge in every kind of food, but it changed my body. It changed my gut microbiome. It changed my metabolism, and honestly, I just cannot metabolize a lot of that junk food anymore. So it really
Right.
wasn't that hard to give up. It's more like you don't want it anymore when you feel so good after
Right.
this. Final words are, don't think about how it's going to feel or taste on your tongue. Think about how you're going to feel 3 hours after eating it.
I
Nice.
love that. Thank you so much again. Our guest has been Dr. Chris Aiken. You really just perspective changing, and we really appreciate you for that, because it's not about just starving yourself and making sure you just can't have enough to eat. It's about actually making the correct choices that will actually increase your mental acuity and your gut biome and overall health in general. Thank you so much, Dr.
And
Aiken.
just a reminder, his book, The Depression and Bipolar Workbook, and he's also hosting a podcast, The Pocket Psychiatrist.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, guys. First of all, Doc, thank you so much. But next week, our guest is Mark Wahlberg. You do not want to miss this. This has been Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Doctor. Once again, you've been amazing, and you've given us a lot to think about. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you guys next week.